FSD hosts Climate Financing in Ethiopia Forum. FSD Ethiopia's monthly knowledge series event was held on Thursday, March 23, in Sheraton Hotel with the title of Climate Finance in Ethiopia in Global Best Practices. The half-day event had presentations on landscape of climate finance in Ethiopia, a report done by the London-based Climate Policy Initiative. Rajashri Padanabi, an analyst for CPI, presented the report in which she emphasized the need for more private funding in the climate financing initiative. She presented high investment risk and high transaction cost as a limiting factor, creating the gap between the private and public financing sector. The report also stated 56% of climate financing in Ethiopia being for adaptive climate financing as opposed to the global average of 7%. A panel discussion held after the presentation discussed with stakeholders about policy and real-world experiences of the participating guests. The Ethiopian government was represented by National Bank of Ethiopia Bank Supervisor Director Fraser Ayalew, as well as Minister of Finance CRGE Facility Coordinator Zerihun Getu. Both officials emphasized Ethiopia's green economy policy as well as challenges in obtaining finance for climate causes. Mr. Zerihun was able to express that issues of access to climate finance from developed countries that was promised in past global meetings, including COP27 in Paris Agreement, as a drawback. Panelists from the private sector include FSD Africa's capital market specialist Sandy Okot, as well as African Bamboo Chief Corporate Development Officer Sam Rosemarine. African Renaissance television station was able to ask both participants after the event about their activities. To the question of climate financing done through various means to attract private investors that include green bonds and carbon credits, Mr. Okot has this to say.
I think what is happening in Ethiopia and what is happening in other African countries is that the capital markets are really developing. You know, we are looking at guiding notes coming into market for instruments like green bonds, and this is very critical because we have to ideally ensure that, you know, these instruments comply to the local regulation. So listing rules need to be in place for, you know, a country like Ethiopia to benefit from green bonds. And then there's an aspect of aligning with the international best practices. Because when you look at green bonds ideally align to the ICMA guidelines on listing and issuing of green bonds. And they also align to the climate bonds initiative standards on, you know, issuing a green bond. So for a country like Ethiopia to benefit, I think first of all is to look at, you know, the regulating and the enabling conditions to be placed, and then also to activate the project pipeline, ideally getting the right kind of projects that can benefit from this financing and that can have the impact outcomes that, you know, this kind of financing provide. Carbon credits and the carbon markets also provide a domesticated kind of an activation where you can bring together smallholder farmers in a certain region, require them to practice sustainable agriculture through agroforestry kind of schemes, and these kind of schemes can generate additional revenue for them in addition to tackling the climate challenges that are there.
Mr. Rosemarine, on the other hand, expressed about leveraging climate finance excitement into real-world entrepreneurship to make change.
It's about finding those business opportunities, right? So for us, it was around finding a business opportunity that enabled us to, you know, raise capital. And so for us, that's, you know, a manufacturing opportunity. You know, at the end of the day, you need a product and you need something to sell. So for us, that's our manufacturing operations. But of course, it's backward integrated into environmental. So we really think of ourselves as an environmental company. But at the end of the day, yeah, you have to find that business opportunity. What can unlock it? It's just finding that opportunity in the market. Whether it be a wood product like ours, whether it be a recycling business, whether it be you know, other climate finance in sort of the finance world. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. I think it's just about finding them.
Ex-diplomat suit against dismissal over sexual assault committed in Ethiopia rejected. A former South Korean diplomat has lost his appeal to overturn his dismissal from his post by Korea's foreign ministry in July 2017 after he was found to have sexually assaulted the female subordinate after drinking with her and taking her to his house when he worked as a counselor at South Korea's embassy in Ethiopia. The Seoul Northern District Court found him guilty of the charges in November 2019 and sentenced him to 3.5 years in prison. The former diplomat appealed this case to be overturned in September 2020, but the Far East Nations Supreme Court has confirmed his prison term. A civil servant's sexual violence crime significantly hampers public trust in state institutions, the court said, adding that the decision to dismiss the plaintiff was not unjustly heavy, according to articles coming out of South Korea. Funeral service held for Dr. Tolda Burhan, veteran environmental scientist and advocate. Dr. Tolda Burhan Gebreegzabir, who was born in a small village in Tigray region of northern Ethiopia, has passed away at the age of 83. The veteran scientist, who graduated with Bachelor of Science in Biology from Addis Ababa University and a doctorate in plant ecology at the School of Plant Biology, University of Northern Wales, has published many research papers focused on interactions between society and environment, while simultaneously serving his country in various roles that include researcher, advisor, and institution administrator. Dr. Tolda Burhan Gebreegzabir won the Right Livelihood Award in 2000 for his exemplary work to safeguard biodiversity and traditional rights of farmers and communities to their genetic resources. He also won Champions of the Earth Award in 2006 for campaigning for community rights in Africa and against the patenting of life forms. His funeral service was held in Holy Trinity Cathedral in Addis Ababa on Wednesday, March 22, with his loved ones, family, and high-level government officials present. He is survived by his 3 daughters.